and welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie Taddeo-Nxumalo, and thank you for joining us. Today, I'm so excited. We have an opportunity to meet with somebody from Swaziland, and I'm going to let him do the proper introductions. But what I'm trying to do now on my channel is to hear the stories of people across the globe, to find out what's happening in their neck of the world and what stories they have to share. And today's guest has plenty to share of what's going on in Swaziland. So thank you so much for joining me today. Can you introduce yourself, STUFUZA, please?
I'd first like to take this opportunity and thank everyone who believed in me for recognizing me in such a situation currently in our country, Swaziland. My name is Swazi Vincent Dlamini. I'm 30 years old. I'm the third born of Prince Kekela Dlamini of Mvuma Royal Crown. I'm currently pursuing my studies in journalism at Limpopo University here in Swaziland. So unfortunately, I'm just paying by myself as I wasn't awarded a scholarship by Swaziland government.
Now, what is your role at Swaziland Voice of the People News?
So I opted to start my channel, Voice of the People News, in broadcasting news from rural areas, rural places, whereby the Swazi nation, the suppressed Swazi nation, will be able to voice out. As the state captured their media platforms in Swaziland, we are not allowed to voice out our concerns, and some of the news will be sifted from being published to other people. So the proper that is to sift the news. It's not all news that are being written or published to other people.
So not only are you studying journalism yourself, but you're also broadcasting to share what's actually happening in Swaziland on your channel.
I got inspired.
By what?
June 20, by the death of Swazis in June 29, 2021, where more than 200 Swazis were killed by Mswati's police, King Mswati's police, for calling for democracy.
And you wanted people to hear the truth of what was actually happening there, correct?
So I wanted to voice it out to expose the dirty works the government is doing to the nation, as there was no any other way of broadcasting or no any other way of alerting people on what is happening in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
And my audience has heard me talk about the struggle in Swaziland several times, but I think it's important to get different perspectives. And so I'm so happy that you've joined us today. And I'm happy that you're doing this. Now, I do know that you're not alone. You have a team of people helping, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Can you tell us, how do you get the news? How do you guys actually get the news?
You're still on that part. When you do your job, you are being inspired by love, by the passion, and also their achievement and dreams. We suffered a lot. It's very painful to complete your matric or your secondary education without employment or without funds to further your studies or to go to the university or any tertiary to study further. But what happens is that when you just finish your matric, there are no scholarships in Swaziland. And people who normally get the scholarships, there are at least 20% of them, whereby the Swazi people, our parents, have to fund the school fees, have to fund in paying for our tuition fees. So I'll say the reason I started Voice of the People News is to inspire young people on how to achieve their dreams. Like here, we are doing a lot of things, like broadcasting news, whereby one will die without a funding, without money for the funeral or burial. So we'll just go there, seek for help, and the Swazis will donate. We buy that coffin, and we bury that person. We will just run a campaign for school kids who are in need of school fees, who are in need of shoes. You can name it. Some elderly people who are struggling even to get food. So we are able to run, broadcast, and write asking for help from NGOs, from companies, from people outside the country, where some of them will be touched by God and they will donate. We will sometimes go there, buy that coffin, conduct that funeral, pay that school fees, buy school uniform for that person. So we are able to do that through our channel, which is Voice of the People News, because the other state captured medias won't allow us to do that.
So now, what platforms can people find your channel on? I know it's on Facebook. What other platforms are there?
We are still on Facebook due to financial crisis, because I'm still a student. I don't have a source of income. So doing this or writing news and broadcasting and all the stuff, it's just out of love. So we can't take our channel further like YouTube and some stuff because we can't afford. We sometimes even struggle in raising data, in buying airtime, you can name it.
Okay, and so that being said, do you have a place where people can contribute or donate to your channel so that you can help with those sort of finances?
Yeah, we can raise, we do have a FNB account number where we are trying to source some funds to run, because this it's a very, very huge task. At the same time, it's very challenging because you sometimes go out, find people hungry, see people struggling in many ways, especially tertiary students, university students, whereby you'll even cry, not knowing what to do because you are also struggling yourself.
I can say that people of Swazi are definitely resilient, but they do things out of goodness of their hearts. No matter how much they are suffering, they still always have that love, and you're an example of that. So thank you so much for that. But now let's get to the news. Let's talk about what's actually happening in Swaziland. So please explain to our audience what's going on the ground in Swaziland.
First of all and foremost, I'd like to, I've noted something down, which my first task is, or my first article here is the challenges facing Eswatini. So we are facing a huge challenge here as a country. The first is lack of transparency. It's high level of youth, both educated and the resources not distributed is the resources not distributed equally. The powers that be received the lion's share, yet they are a minority and do not drive the economy through hard labor. King and family plus their cronies, taking all businesses from local business people. The king demanding 50% or more from every investor trying to open a big business in the country, claiming to be doing in the trust of the Swazi nation. A poor health care due to a failing health system in the country. When you visit some health faculties, there are no medication. Diabetic patients, they die as they can't afford to go to the pharmacy and buy that medication. Then there's unemployment, modern day slavery of Swazis by foreign investors. So we have turned foreigners in our own country. Then that led to the killing of Swazi nations. The killing of Swazis demanding democracy. Democrats treated like terrorists. As I'm here, I'm being labeled as a terrorist for calling for a change, for calling for democracy here in our country. Lack of political education and tolerance. Political parties banned since April 12, 1973 on STUFUZA's decree. The king turning Swazis against one another by using the divided and rule mechanism. This is achieved through underpaying civil servants whilst underpaying security forces so that they willingly kill a democracy proponents in Swaziland. Anyone who questions the king and his family, greet and viewed as an enemy and marked to be assassinated by the foreign hired mercenaries, police, and security forces. We currently have mercenaries who are here in Swaziland, torturing, killing Swazis who are calling for democracy. For ages, many dissenting views have been silenced secretly by hitmen hired by the king through what they refer as which means you'll just die and just vanish. No one will ever talk about you or about your whereabouts. Reason being, when one tries to question what happened to so and so, you will be also killed for questioning that. As a result, that led to the arrest of our MPs, member of parliament, who were calling for democracy while in parliament. The three MPs, for now, we currently have two MPs who are in jail and one MP who's in exile, who is Mtutuzi Makaukau Melanie. The two MPs who are Bakete Mabuza and Mthandeni Dube. The two MPs arrested only for supporting the call for democratic reforms and questioning Mswati's leadership. Trumped up charges brought up by after the three MP, including exiled MP, intensified the call for democracy by moving a motion for a government where the king only has a symbolic rather than executive powers in a similar style of the British government. The MPs were denied bail, a clear signal of a captured judiciary. Judges take orders from the king concerning the prosecution of the MPs. The length a trial is meant to send a strong message to all those who denounce the current regime. There is just no case against the arrested MPs. The June 29 killings. The king unleashed security forces, including the army and foreign mercenaries, on armed citizens petitioning the government for reforms. They were only shot for sending petitions on their MPs, where they petitioned them in calling for a democracy. Soldiers applied no caution in dealing with the situation in less strategic manner as they had a mandate to serve, shot to kill the people or dissenting voices. To this date, no arrest has been made to those responsible for the assassination, the killings of the mass, and the killings of the unarmed citizens who only sin was for democratic reforms. There's also King Mswati's daughter, who is a presence as Kanyeso, responsible for information and technology. He also mistakenly said hired foreign mercenaries are here in Swaziland to defend the royalty, to defend the king, not mentioning the Swazi nation, not mentioning the suppressed, the killed civilians. Vegetarian used by the royal family to hunt, assassinate leader of political parties and lawyers, as evidenced by the senseless assassination of human rights lawyer Tulan Masego, who was also killed, assassinated by Mswati's police, by Mswati gangsters for the vocal lawyer, who was vocal calling for democracy for the entire Swazi nation. As a result, politicians who were arrested, like he provided free services in court. So that's the reason behind his killings.
Now, I have a question. All right, so you've touched on so many challenges that the Swazis are facing. And again, I want to remind our audience, this is just because the country wants democracy. Something is a common basic human right. And this is what's come out of happening here. So the MPs are in jail and one's in exile. How does that make the people in Swaziland feel that they're not being heard by the king? Because the members of parliament are there to be their voice. So how are they feeling?
The problem here is is with our constitution, because the constitution serves only the king and his government. As a result, we can't elect a prime minister here in Swaziland. He's only appointed by the king. So the reason for the arrest of the two MPs was to send fear to the remaining member of parliament to keep quiet, not mention democracy, not to call for a change. Why are they in parliament? Because everyone who tries to voice out is being jailed.
So how are the citizens of Swaziland feeling that they're not being heard? It's all about what the king wants and the constitution for the king.
The feeling is mutual here, because if you're not killed, you are in exile. Many Swazis fled. Many Swazis escaped. Many Swazis had to run, leave their jobs, leave their homes, children, just to save their lives. As a result, I'm also on the wanted list to be assassinated for calling for democracy, for exposing government's doings and exposing everything they're doing.
And you're talking about the unquoting hit list that is there of people that the king and his cronies are looking for because they're speaking of democracy. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think also on that list is the president of the teachers union, correct? The SNAT. And the reason I'm curious about this is I'm an educator in Canada. So how did that come to be and what's happening there?
Pardon?
The teachers union, the president of the teachers union, he's also on that list, correct?
Yes. The president of the teachers union, Mbonga Dlamini, was also a target, as he was fluent calling them. Time I checked, he was even called by the royal authorities to explain why his association donated a coffin for a killed Swazi whose family couldn't afford his burial. So they just came to his rescue just to donate a coffin. So he was also taken into task. So as a result, he has to go out of the country just for his sake.
So because Swazis are giving from their heart, because from a place of love, they're being penalized and threatened, but with their lives, just for helping a family pay for a coffin. That's heartbreaking. What is it that Swazis want, other than democracy? What is it that they need and want right now?
The only thing we need as Swazis is freedom. We are really suffocating. We only need freedom. You can't even speak. Don't have even a freedom of speech. One speech can lead someone to jail for being vocal. We only need freedom as Swazis.
So right now you have an international audience. What is it that you want us to know across the globe? How can we get involved and how can we help the struggle in Swaziland?
The only thing that can help this poor nation, for now, we are really suffocating and struggling financially. Because the king, the regime, made it clear that people calling for reforms, people calling for democracy, calling for a change, mustn't be given any chance to taste even a single cent of his money.
Now I know
So
that
they know very well. So they know very well that even today, I, the editor of Voice of the People News, I can be taken to jail. I can't even afford a lawyer to pay those fees. I can't even feed myself. So we have varsity students who somehow are starting committing suicide. So as a result, this has led to the people of Swaziland not believing in anything that has government in it. Because once you touch this government, you'll be hurt. As a result, I can say, and I can assure you and my audience that even if you can call a judge in Canada to come and persecute, to come and take on this case, our MPs are just innocent. They never killed anyone. They never burned any structure.
it's just because they want to help the country achieve democracy.
Yes.
There are many organizations in Swaziland that are participating in helping bring essential needs and goods to the country. And again, we will share these links as well as the links to your channel so that people across the globe can educate themselves to find out how you can help. As mentioned, it may not be financial, perhaps it is with expertise and experience. Perhaps you have something to share with the people of Swaziland to make sure that they are given a voice, just as you are trying to do, and we truly appreciate that. Now, I have to ask, because I always ask this question, I am a very big advocate for inclusion, meaning that everybody feels heard, seen, valued, and as if they belong. What is your definition of inclusion, and what would you like to see in the sense of inclusion for Swaziland?
Yeah, it's a very tricky and a hard question to answer. As a result, for me to say this, you are being killed in Swaziland for the truth. As we try by all means to expose this cruel regime, they feel we are now a threat to them. So we currently have, for example, we currently have it's SBAS, the state captured radios news channel here in Swaziland. There was an event of Bukano whereby Mswati calls the Swazi woman to go and celebrate and drink marula. So as a result, plus or minus 6 women died at the event as they were starved, running to get food. So as the place was just overcrowded by the women who were there. So that attack wasn't published. As a result, Swazis who were there taking photos, recording videos, were tortured. And their gadgets were being taken. For them not to expose.
Inclusion seems so far away in Swaziland right now. I would love for you to share your Facebook credentials, please. So how can people find you on Facebook?
On Facebook, the news channel,
Yes,
which is Voice of the People News, or they can even find me by my name. It is STUFUZA Wukand.
And I encourage everybody to please go to the page, like it, follow. The news there is groundbreaking. It's actually what's happening in Swaziland. It's not censored. It's the real deal. And let's get involved, educate ourselves, see how we can assist. You mentioned there was a fund. Can you just reiterate that, please, STUFUZA?
So, pardon?
Just reiterate or share with us the way that people can donate to your channel.
The way people can donate, can I just share this little story?
Yes, please, go ahead. Yes, absolutely.
Whereby everyone is facing a financial challenge in Swaziland, including civilians, including, as a result, there is a police officer, a top police officer, who is station commander in one of the police stations in Swaziland. We just find out that he committed suicide today. As a result of being here, can I read here? It's a Manzini Station Commander Lawrence Dube shot and killed himself at his house on Sunday morning as he was facing serious financial challenges.
So sad.
I'm also going to be taken into task for that attack, because this is exposing government on that. These people are really suffering. You cannot tell me a top boss suffering in financial challenges. They can't even afford to buy a house. They can't even afford to buy even a car.
And many people can't even afford the food or the school fees. So definitely, please find the different organizations, and I'll share the links on my YouTube channel for the organizations that are taking funds to help the Swazis at this time, as including your channel. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing and for taking the time to speak with us. Please, not only let's connect again for updates, but let's stay in touch and help ensure that the globe is hearing about the struggle in Swaziland. It is so heartbreaking and it needs to be brought into the spotlight. So thank you again.
Thanks a lot.